So welcome back once again. So in today's tutorial, we are going to learn on how to create contact form. So websites do have contact form where you can uh, contact form where you can place your contact details, full name, email address, phone number, and so on. So we are going to see how we can actually build this and embed this within a website. So I'm not building the entire website as of now, but I'm just building this a small component, this contact form. And at the end, we are going to see how we can build the contact form and how we can actually link our contact form to something like Excel sheet, where whatever detail any visitor is actually will insert within in our contact form, we're actually able to collect that in the Excel sheet, which will act like a temporal database. So we are using that as our database that will store house this information. Then we can then use this information to reach out to the said prospect client. And okay, so let's see how we can actually build. Let's see how we can actually now build this contact form. Okay. So at the moment, we're just going to use. We are going to build this simple using HTML, CSS, JavaScript. Okay, so HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So we're just keeping, as you know, we're just keeping this simple. We want to learn the basics, understand the basics of web development. Then from here, we can now use the modern tools, React, Next.js, to actually build stunning websites. Okay, so today we're just going to for this session, we will build the contact form using HTML and style it using CSS. Then I think tomorrow we'll now see how we can link this to an Excel sheet. Okay, so that whatever data we're filling here, when we submit those details will be captured in an Excel sheet, so that we have the contact form for the client. Maybe whatever they are requesting, we are able to reach to them later. Okay, so today, so let's start. Again, as usual, we're going to create the files. So the first one is the index HTML. So index.html. So this is the first one. Then we'll create style.css. So this one is for the styling the contact form. So it's just a simple contact form. The idea is just to understand how to build a contact form and how you can actually be able to integrate this within your website. Okay, so index.html. So again, we are going okay. So we have the bare bones structure of an HTML. So what we are going to change the title. So for the title, we are going to use data collection form. So data collection form. So that's the title for this. Then we need to link this to our CSS. So link style sheet, then href style.css. So I think that one is okay. Okay, so that is the title for this. Then this is just a link to our styling sheet CSS, where we are going to style this contact form. Okay, so now that we have that, let's see. So this is the final. So this is the final contact form that we are actually going to build. So let's break it down bit by bit. See how we are going to build. We're going to build this component by component until we have the entire form. So starting with the HTML. So let's see what we have within our form. So in our form, everything. So in our form, yeah, okay. So in our form, this is what we have. Okay, I'll use this. So we have the background. So I'm not going to talk about. So we have the background for a start. Then we have this card. So this is the card that we are focusing more. So this is the card. So you can see we have this card. Then the background color is white. Then there is some shadow, box shadow, something like that. Then we have something like a H1, which is the join our waiting list. Then we have something like a H2 below it with some space between the H1 and the H2. Then we have the label, something I think the label, full name. That's the label. And then we have the input box, like an input box where the user will have to input their name. The same way, we have then a little bit space between the input as well as and the label. Then you have the label email address. Then you have the input. Okay. Then from here we have the phone number. Again, we have the input. Then we have the button. So this is the button. Okay. So you can see how our contact form is actually how we are structuring the contact form. So if you're going to build the contact form, having this in the back of our mind, so we know how these components are actually fitting in, so that whenever we are going to write our code, we're able to place this at the right location. Okay, so so this is how the contact form looks like when you are breaking it down component by component. Okay, so because now we have this in mind, let's now start building it with our HTML code itself. So I'll just do away with this. Minimize. I'll just wipe everything. I'll just close this. Okay, so we have within the body. Now we have the entire container. So we have to build a container. So this is the main container. So for the main container, we'll use a div container. Then I'll just label this as a main container. So this is the main container. Then inside this, we have I'll create another container. So this is the form box. Okay, so I'll create the form box. This is a form box. So with this one, that's where we now have to our headings. So let's say H2 and instead of H3, let's use this as a paragraph. So form box. So for this form box, we're going to use let's say a H2. So for the H2, this join. So join our waiting list. Waiting list. Then below this we have a paragraph. So for the paragraph, you're going to say enter your details below, added to our database. So let's see. I'm just going to save this. Then I'm going to I will again open this so that we are able to visualize. We're going to see how these features are coming up. So you can see we now have join our waiting list. Then we have enter your details. Okay, so we have this and then we have this. So we need to start creating the input section. So this one, I think this one up to now is okay. Now we have the form. We need to create the form now. So I'll just create another class. So that form form group. So with the form group, supposed to be group. With the form group, let's see. So with the form group, I will create a label first. So the label, the name of that, the label, so the name, so the label, then for full name, then we, so that is the full name, our potential prospect. Then we have to use the input. For the input type is text, and then the ID, the ID will be the full name. To expand, so ID will be the full name, then name, so this will just be the name, then the placeholder, so that this acts like something like a guide. So that is gen, can use the most common, so gen do. Then you can add required. So this is like a type check, ensuring that this is actually required. Okay. So this we can now see we have the full name as the label, and then we have the input together with the placeholder. Okay, so we need to repeat this. So going back, see we have the full name. This is what we have actually created. So we need to add the email address and the phone number. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this container. Then I'll just copy it, paste it twice. So here we have the form group. We have the here the full name. Now we need to change from full name. The second one will be the email address. So email address. This is the email address. And again, email address. Email address. Then for the that's the input. Then for the type, this is the email. So we want the email ID will resemble this. So for the ID of label form, so the ID of label form, I think it's 4. Okay. So then for the ID, we'll use the email address. And then the name will be, so what is the name of this input? So the name of the input will be email. Then the placeholder will just insert a placeholder again. So you can call it gen example.com. Okay. Again, this is a must-have. It's a required. Then the third one is about, as you can see, we have changed that to the email address. So the third one will be instead of full name, we have to use, this will be the phone number. So this is the phone number. Then change this to the phone number. So the class label for the ID for the label will be the same ID for the input. So again, use the phone number. Then for the type, this is the telephone. Then the name of these inputs will be the phone number. Then we'll use a placeholder again. So the placeholder will be plus, let's say +1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, let's say 8, 9, 0. Again, this one is required. Then after we're done with this, we need to, so we have done with this, so we need to create our text box. So for the text box, So not text box, we need to create the button. Sorry. So we have the button. So we create the button. So what's the type of this button? So for the type of this button is a submit button. So this is a submit. This will be a submit button. Then I'll just use an ID so that we can submit ID selector for the button tag. Then we can use text here, so submit details button. Then I'll just create I'll create another paragraph here. So once we have submitted the details, we need to send some form of a message. Okay. So I'll give it an ID selector as a message. Then this one can just be empty. Okay. So we were creating a form. Okay. So one thing that I actually missed. So we are creating a form, something like a form. So we need to include this within the form tag. Form. So form is not tag, an element. Form. The form element represents a collection of form associated elements, some of which can represent editable values that can be submitted to a server for processing. Okay, so we need to bind everything within this form. Okay, so I'll create the form, then I'll just copy whatever, copy all this, then I'll just copy this within the given form. So everything is enclosed within this form. Okay, then we have everything from main container as a div. That's one. Okay, then the form box also has a div. So we need to this should be within this should be within again this, so that we have the main container. Yeah, so that we have the main container. So you can see we have the main container. So this is the main container, and everything is inside the main container. So we need to check on that. So that was something that I was actually doing, was missing. So everything is within the container, this container. So everything is within that container. And inside this container, now we have the form box. So the form box main containers like the card, then whatever details we have are within the form box, where we have the join our waitlist, enter your details, and so on. Then the full name, email address, phone number, all these are now within the form itself. Okay. Now I think that one is done. I think that one is done. So one thing that I will add, we can do that tomorrow when you are handling the JavaScript component. So we have our bare bones HTML structure. So you can see we have the join our waitlist, enter your details below to be added to our database, like a message. Then we have all the form details that will be form data that we will be picking from our prospects. Then we have the submit button. Okay, now once we have our HTML already set, now we can move to styling this form. Okay, so let's move to style this form. So styling, we're going to use a CSS. Okay, so let's start with the body. So body, so margin 0, margin 0, padding again 0. Then the font family. For the font family, we're going to use Helvetica. I'll use Helvetica. Then for the backup, I will use sans serifs. I think that one's okay. You can see things are starting to change. Now sans serif. Then for the background, so background color, I'm going to use something. Then for the display we will do flex. Display flex. Justify content. We use center. Justify content. This one is center. Then align items. Align items again. We want our items to be centered. Then we can use the height. This height we are using 100. Okay, now you can see yes, now you can see once we include the height, now our items move to the center of the page itself. Okay, so you can see our CSS starting to take shape. So once we are done with the body, then we can move to the main container. Main container, just know that our main container is this, the main container. For the main container, you're going to use width. You're going to place that at 100%. Then for the padding, you're going to use pixels. Okay, so that's the main container. Now for the from the main container, we need to enter the form box. So form box again, background you can use white. Then max width use 400 pixels. Max width. The margin use 0 photo. Because the margin, yeah, now see it's starting to take shape. So a margin, then add some padding. So for the padding, we're going to use cells. We have padding border radius. So we want the corners of this form box to be rounded. So for the border radius, use 15 pixels. You can see there is some rounding on the corners. So if I change this to, let me change this to black. You can see the corners are a bit rounded. So that's the border radius. Then the box shadow. Now for the box shadow, you can see, let me erase. for the border box, you can see there's some shadows. There's some shadow surrounding this box. There's some little bit shadow. So that's what you are including when you are talking about the box shadow. So for the box shadow, we are going to use 6 pixels. So 6 pixels, then 25 pixels, so that it should be for the border box. When you're talking about the border box, I think it is more pronounced on the bottom. I think it's more pronounced on the bottom side. Then we can use the RGBA color sequence. So 0 0 0 and 1 2 3 0.8. I think that one can work. We want to be darker. The border, yeah, you can now see the border box is there's this dark shades. So it seems like the form is somehow a little bit somehow floating. Okay. I think that one is done. Then now let's go to the H2. So for the H2, so we have the text align. Text align, we are going to do center. Then for the color of the text, I will hash 1 2 3 7. That one's okay. So that's the text color. Then we have for H2 color. Then I think we can add is the margin. I think margin top. So some margin top. Use 0. Then for the paragraph, then text align center. Color, we're going to use a little bit faint. Some faint, should be a little bit faint. Then font size, that will be pixels. Then the margin bottom, that will be 25. So we want to create some margin between the form and this paragraph here. Okay, so once the paragraph is done, so the form group, so with the form group, what we are going to do, margin bottom, the margin bottom, we'll use 20 pixels. Okay, so we want the input fields to be separated. So let me use 200 pixels so that we can be able to visualize. You can see we have spaces between the different inputs. So this is what we are actually so we are creating this space between the inputs values. Okay, then from there we can tackle the labels. So let's talk of the labels. So labels is a type selector. So labels, then we can display block, margin bottom. I will use 6 pixels. then font weight bold, the font size use 13 pixels, the color use the same color as color. Then text transform, okay, so that is labels, supposed to not labels, supposed to be label. Okay, now display block. So let me explain something here. So I think it's the labels. So I think the labels and the input. So these are not block level elements. They are inline. If I'm not wrong, they are inline elements. You have the block versus inline. Yeah, I think the block versus inline elements. Okay, so block elements start on a new line, so they take the entire full width of the page. Okay, but the inline block, so the inline block only take up to the space of the content itself. So we have the full name. So the labels and the input, these are inline elements. Okay. So, but whenever we are actually building this contact form, we need to make them to occupy new lines. And for us to achieve that, we have to use the display block to be blocked, so that each occupies their respective lines. Okay. The new line, and they occupy the entire width. Okay, so that's the label. So let's move to the input. So for the input, we have the width 100%. So with 100%, with 100%, padding being, that is the 12 pixels. Padding and box sizing. Box sizing, we're going to use the border box. And the border, what border should the input have? So border, we are going to use border, I'm going to use pixel solid. Then you provide some line. That's the input. Then border radius. The border radius size to use background color. This one you can use the same. You just paste it here. Then transition. The transition, I will use the border color 0.7 say 3 seconds. Then box shadow. Shadow, say 0.25. Okay, so width 100%, padding 12 pixels, box sizing, border box. Then we have the border, 1 pixel solid. Then this is the color. Then you have the border radius 6 pixels, font size 16 pixels, background color, then the transition. Okay. Then you can move to the next, which is the input. This one is getting, is it inheritance in CSS? I'm forgetting the name. So border color. So this one will be just color, the box shadow, and 3 use the RGBA, then 7 9 3 then outline none. Something I'm missing. It's they are there, but okay, yeah, I think you can see them. I think it's okay. There, but a little bit faint. So you have to click. Okay, maybe you can tackle that later. So the input, I think they are visible. They are not clearly visible. So you have to type. You have to click within the text box so that you're able to see them clearly. But let's see if we can solve that later. So that's the input focus. Let's do the button. Input focus. So button. So button again with 100%. With 100%, adding 2 pixels, background color. I think we'll just use this. Then you can now see it's taking shape. So the color of the text, so I just use white. You can see the submit details now as the white color. So the color, then for the border, I use none, so I don't want that. Then the border radius. I'll use 6 pixels. And the cursor. When you are hovering the cursor around the button, what do we want to happen? Cursor will be a pointer. Font size of this button. Font size of this button will be, let's say, 16 pixels. Font size. Then the transition. transition. I'll use a background in 0.3 seconds is 1. Then margin top. That's the button. So we have the button. What about when we hover? So button hover. That's the hover. So hovering around the button. So take the background color. This one I can just use as the background color. So when we hover, you can see when we hover around the button, you can see the color changes. Okay. Then for the message, so this is ID selector. ID selector we use the hash. Class selector we use the dot. Message margin on top is the 15 pixels. Weight that is bold. Text align. This one will be the message that will be displayed once we have submitted our details. Okay, and the color that I'll use must be a blue. That's the message. Clean things up. Something that is missing. Let me. Don't know why. Margin 0, padding, font family, formbox h2. And we have the paragraph, text align, color, font size, the margin bottom, font group margin bottom 20 pixels. We have the label. You know what we are missing? We need to be having this input. So input we have the input. Inputs width 100, padding 12 pixels, border box. And we have the border size, color. Input that. Yeah, I think the problem is the input. Let's see. What's the difference? Width 100%, padding 12 pixels, border box is the same, border radius, font size, background color, transition. It's 25. No. Anyway, you can just use this one. Just do away with this. Yeah. So I think for the button, yeah, 10 pixels. Yeah, I think 10 pixels. At least there's a little bit more spacing. So I think we are done. We are good. So we at the beginning we did set out to actually create. This was what we were creating. Create this form, contact form. So and this is what we have actually achieved today. So this is the contact form. So we did set out to create our contact form, and that's what we have done using the HTML, CSS, and HTML and CSS. So HTML was to create the structure. Then CSS was used for styling. So we were able to combine those to actually come up with this contact form. So tomorrow we are going to now link or use JavaScript so that whenever we input our details and submit, we are actually able to get the names, the email address of the prospective client list to we can just use an Excel so that we're able to collect that data and maybe contact those prospects when the product is actually available. Okay, so I think that's it. So even if I try to submit without the details, you can see please fill out this field, just because we added the requirement that this field is actually required. Okay, so if we just use, let's say, gendo, then using gen, so let's say at gmail.com, phone number, yeah, we can use, let's say, plus 4589236 123 1. Yeah. Yep. So if you guys submit details, so once we submit our details, they need to be captured in a database somewhere. Okay, so that's what we're going to be covering tomorrow. So again, that marks the end of today's session where we actually built the form. And as you can see, we're making some tremendous progress learning HTML, CSS, okay? Some JavaScript. So once we add the JavaScript side of things tomorrow, you'll actually see how a contact form can be. You can create a contact form within your website. Then once people input their details, they can be captured somewhere else. Okay, that's it. That's it for me today. So let's meet tomorrow for the JavaScript. Till next time, see you.